What if I told you the most shocking moment in WrestleMania history was almost not shocking at all? That the streak was nearly broken years before it actually ended? And what if I told you WWE stood on the edge of pulling the trigger multiple times but stepped back every single time? Because once that number changes, once that aura cracks, once that myth falls, you can never put it back together again. For over 2 decades, The Undertaker walked into WrestleMania undefeated. Every year the question grew louder. Is this the night? And every year, the answer was no, until it finally was. When Brock Lesnar shocked the world and the scoreboard read 21-1. But here's what most fans never fully realized. That ending almost belonged to someone else. And not just once, but multiple times, behind closed doors, WE debated the unthinkable. They asked themselves if the streak should create a new legend instead of just protecting an old one. Because wrestling history tells us that the right win at the right time can elevate a superstar forever. Imagine being the man who ends the most protected record in the business. That's instant immortality. For years, there were whispers that Randy Orton was considered, back when he was the young, arrogant, legend killer. The story almost wrote itself. The legend killer slaying the ultimate legend. At that time, Orton was positioned as the future, but WWE hesitated. Undertaker was still active, still dominant, still a locker room leader. Giving that win away too early might have felt premature. The company understood the streak wasn't just a storyline. It was an annual attraction. It guaranteed suspense, it guaranteed buys, it guaranteed conversation. Ending it meant sacrificing a yearly headline for a single moment, and that's a heavy trade. Then there were serious conversations around Edge during his peak as the ultimate opportunist. The chemistry was there, the storytelling was there, the crowd investment was there. But once again, WE pulled back. The streak had grown beyond a single rivalry. It had become mythology. You don't end mythology lightly. Even Shawn Michaels entered that discussion after delivering back-to-back classics that many consider the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. There were internal debates about whether the emotional weight of their rivalry justified breaking the streak. But Michaels himself reportedly believed it should never end, and that mindset carried weight. The hesitation wasn't fear. It was awareness. WWE knew the streak was a once-in-a-lifetime narrative device. Every year, it created natural drama without forced storytelling. The challenger didn't need extra motivation. The stakes were already sky-high. Once it ended, that automatic tension would disappear forever. That's why when discussions turned to Triple H during their brutal encounters, the company again stopped short. Those matches felt definitive, they felt final. Yet the decision remained the same. Protect the streak, protect the aura, protect the mystery. And then came Brock Lesnar. By the time Lesnar faced Undertaker, the landscape had shifted. Lesnar was already established as a legitimate force, a former UFC champion, a believable destroyer. He didn't need the streak to validate him, which ironically made him the safest choice. If a rising star had ended it and then failed to stay hot, the streak would have been wasted on a gamble. But Lesnar wasn't a gamble. He was a monster with credibility. We chose him because he could absorb the backlash and the shock without crumbling under it. When the 3 count hit, the silence inside the stadium was historic. Not boos, not cheers, just disbelief. That reaction only worked because WWE had resisted the temptation for so many years. If Orton had ended it, the shock would have been smaller. If Michaels had ended it, the reaction would have been emotional but expected. Instead, they waited until the streak felt untouchable, until fans convinced themselves it would never happen. That patience turned a booking decision into one of the most replayed moments in wrestling history. Imagine an alternate timeline. Imagine Orton standing over a fallen Undertaker in his prime. Imagine Edge stealing immortality. Wrestling history shifts completely. Legacies shift, careers shift, fan perception shifts. We understood that risk, and that's why they hesitated year after year. Because once the undefeated number becomes a loss, you cannot rebuild it. And yet there's another layer. Undertaker himself reportedly had influence in the decision. He valued the streak, but he also valued the business. If the right name at the right time truly needed it, he was open to the idea. That humility makes the hesitation even more fascinating. The company feared regret. They feared giving it away to someone who wouldn't carry the torch properly. So they waited. Not yet, not now. Protect it one more year. And that repetition built anticipation higher and higher until the eventual fall felt seismic. The irony is that some fans still debate whether it should have ended at all. What's undeniable is that the hesitation is what made it powerful. The years of almost, the years of serious talks, the years of restraint created the explosion when it finally happened. Because once it's gone, it's gone. And maybe that's the real story, not just that the streak ended, but that it almost ended so many times before. And WWE kept choosing patience over impulse, until the moment felt irreversible. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into wrestling history.